CBS News Miami.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Naja Sherman, and welcome to CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast. We begin with the funeral plans for former President Jimmy Carter. He died yesterday at the age of 100 at his home in Plains, Georgia. CBS News Miami's Nicole Valdez reports from Atlanta on how the nation is remembering our former president.
Former President Jimmy Carter's work with Habitat for Humanity is just one of his many legacies.
He was certainly a humanitarian. He put politics aside once he left the White House and just did good for the common man.
It was work he cherished late in his life.
There are times when it gets so hot and you're working long hours. You know, at my age, I'm 83 years old, I get a little bit dizzy, so I just sit down for a while and drink some more, pick up juice or water or something like that.
The American flag was lowered to half staff at the Capitol building and the White House, where Carter was fondly remembered.
Our biggest memories was he was a president from the United States Navy. He defended our country very valiantly.
In Carter's beloved hometown of Plains, Georgia, where he and his wife Rosalind spent most of their 77 years of marriage together, and where he taught Sunday school, the loss is profound. One of his 11 grandchildren spoke a couple months ago about Carter's view of his life.
I think he wants to be remembered as someone who was honest, as someone who did what he thought was right.
A memorial is growing here at the Carter Center in Atlanta. Mourners are leaving flowers and cards. Someone also left a jar of peanuts, a symbol of Carter's humble beginnings as a peanut farmer.
He was pretty direct. He was soft-spoken.
Carter was the nation's longest living president. His goodbye includes a service here at the Carter Center and state funeral in Washington on January 9th, before he's laid to rest in Plains next to his wife. Nicole Valdez, CBS News, Atlanta.
The chair of the Miami-Dade Homeless Trust is remembering the impact President Carter made on South Florida. Ron Book says aside from Carter's work building homes, he was a tireless advocate for democracy around the world. And while doing good work, he remained a very grounded person.
I think that the one thing about the president was he was always folksy, always comforting, always soft-spoken, and always easy to communicate with and dialogue with on a regular basis. He was an everyday person, a farmer, if you will, from Plains, Georgia.
Book says he also had the opportunity to fly on Air Force One with President Carter.
Always alerting, always tracking. This is Next Weather.
Taking a live look at downtown Miami, it is a warm day across South Florida. We've even seen a few showers. Next Weather meteorologist Shane Hinton joins us with the look ahead. Hey, Shane.
Hey there, Naja. Yes, we are still seeing even a few isolated showers out there, but mostly it's just a warm, quiet day across South Florida with temperatures currently sitting in the upper 70s for most. If we zoom in here locally, you can see in southern Miami-Dade County, that's where we're seeing some of those showers kind of develop. Nothing severe, but we're going to hold on to about a 10 to 20% chance for those to continue as we head throughout the evening. I think as we head after sunset, that's when our chances really start to taper off, as temperatures also start to fall into the mid-70s by 7 or 8 o'clock. Now, something you'll also want to be mindful of as we make our way into tomorrow and also tonight is going to be a dense fog advisory in effect. It starts at 10 o'clock this evening and runs until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let me show you some of this fog. It's a dense marine fog that'll be moving in from the Gulf. Look at this. We could see visibility down to a mile or even less than a mile or even less than a quarter of a mile for southwestern Florida. Southeastern Florida, I think we could still be dealing with some patchy fog that lingers through the morning hours tomorrow. If you're someone who does still have to work, or maybe you're doing some traveling for the holiday, be mindful that it won't clear until maybe the mid to late morning. Temperatures are going to be dropping into the upper 60s, so a fairly mild evening overall. Lower 70s for my friends in Marathon and in Key West. And then as we go throughout the day tomorrow, we're only going to have about a 10% chance for a shower as a weak front starts to push into the area. It'll fully pass through on New Year's Day, but that's why we're going to still be trending on the warmer side with peak heating at around 83 degrees tomorrow. Now, some might even make it up to 84. If we got it to 84 in Miami, it would actually tie the daily heat record for that site for that day. Now, in the Keys, it'll be a little cooler, mid to upper 70s, but overall, still a very warm end to 2024, and it will be a cooler start to 2025. A more detailed look at your New Year's Eve forecast. There's a mild evening at 6 o'clock. By the time the new year rolls around, we'll be just around 70 degrees. And as I mentioned, there's that 10% chance for a shower tomorrow, but I think you're going to be good to go for all of your celebrations, and I hope you do have a safe and happy new year. Now, if you are someone who likes cooler weather, then you're going to be happy about the new year. Look at this. this. Upper 70s on New Year's Day. That's when that cold front slides through. And then as we make our way into the weekend, lower 70s for our highs, and then our morning lows will actually drop into the mid 50s. Now you do notice a slight warm up back to the upper 70s by Monday, but we have a bigger cool down that's going to be on the way for the first half of January that we'll have details on during our evening broadcast. Naja.
All right, Shane, thank you. The Alexander brothers were back in a South Florida federal courtroom. They face both state and federal charges for sex crimes. Alon and Orrin Alexander, their family members and lawyers attended a pretrial detention hearing. It was inside the federal courthouse in Miami. Lawyers for the brothers were hoping to convince a federal judge to release them. The feds went over the case against them, and it includes interviews with 50 people. 42 of them say they were sexually assaulted by one of the brothers. Prosecutors allege the abuse started when the twins were in high school. The judge said he would make a decision whether to release them on Friday. We are getting a closer look at the moment a Brightline train hit a fire truck on the tracks. The impact sent a dozen people to the hospital. Brightline released the dash cam video. It shows those moments leading up to the crash. It happened Saturday morning near East Atlantic Avenue and Southeast 1st Avenue in Delray Beach. The fire truck was mangled. It was crossing while the guardrails were down. 3 firefighters and 12 passengers were taken to the hospital.
All of a sudden we heard this incredibly destructive sound. It almost sounded, honestly, like a building was collapsing.
I heard it sounded like a building was falling. It crashed and it was like kaboom.
How terrifying. Brightline released a statement saying, quote, "Railroad safety is a community-wide effort and that you should never drive around crossing gates when they are down." From restrictions on web browsing to updated building codes, 9 new state laws are set to take effect in the start of the new year. CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner has the breakdown.
One of the more controversial bills is one that prohibits anyone under the age of 14 from having a social media account in the state of Florida. This means that social media sites will have to delete any accounts that belong to someone under 14. If your account is deleted, you will have 90 days for a parent or guardian to provide consent. If a social media site knowingly violates the new law, there are hefty fines. However, this bill is being challenged in court, and so it won't be implemented until a court makes a preliminary decision in February. Another controversial law going into effect makes it illegal to remain within 25 feet of a first responder who has verbally warned the offender to back off while the first responder is performing a legal duty. In this law, harassment is defined as intentionally causing substantial emotional distress, but emotional distress is not defined. Critics argue this gives first responders greater power to move citizens away who may be recording any wrongdoing. SB 556 is aimed at protecting the vulnerable population. It says that any financial institutions that believe someone is being taken advantage of by a guardian or someone with power of attorney can put a hold on a transaction for 15 business days and begin an investigation. SB 7054 increases the number of private activity bonds that can be issued in Florida. A private activity bond allows private entities to access tax-exempt financing for projects that would otherwise be too expensive. The law states that half of them must be allocated to affordable housing and 25% to a corporation pool. Now, these are just 4 of 9 new laws that are going into effect, but don't worry, we will put them all for you on CBSMiami.com. In the newsroom, Morgan Reiner, CBS News Miami.
Thank you, Morgan. When we come back, a stomach virus surging across the U.S. What you need to know to stay safe. Welcome back to CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast. We are getting a new look at that deadly plane crash in South Korea. Video shows a Boeing 737 sliding down a runway with its front landing gear and then hitting a concrete wall. The impact caused the plane to burst into flames. Moments before, the pilot reported a bird strike and sent a Mayday call. 175 passengers and 2 crew members were killed. Only 2 survivors were pulled out of the tail section of the plane. Government officials have ordered an audit of all Boeing 737s operating in the country. Cases of norovirus are surging in parts of the United States this winter. The most recent numbers from the CDC show there were 91 outbreaks of norovirus reported during the week of December 5th. That's up from 69 outbreaks the last week of November. Symptoms include sudden vomiting and diarrhea. The discount chain Big Lots has reached a deal, and it will keep hundreds of its stores and distribution centers open. Big Lots said it will be sold to Gordon Brothers retail partners, and that is a firm that specializes in distressed companies. When the company filed for bankruptcy in September, it said inflation and high interest rates caused consumers to pull back on their purchases. No word on what stores will remain open. Now to Fins on 4, your Miami Dolphins could make the playoffs after yesterday's big win. They beat the Cleveland Browns 20-3. The Dolphins have gone 5-2 in their last 7 games. So what will it take to earn a spot in the playoffs? They have to beat the Jets this weekend, and the Chiefs have to beat the Broncos. Stay with CBS News Miami this Sunday. Join us for the Coach Mike McDaniel Show at 11 a.m. That is followed by Dolphins Weekly Live. Then after the game, join us for fifth quarter, the postgame show on CW Miami 33. And that is your CBS News Miami Quickcast. I'm Naja Sherman. Stay tuned for more news right here on CBS News Miami, and have a great day.